we will go ahead and start to begin here. We have a lot of people that signed up for this webinar, so we already have a lot in here, but I'm sure more will join us as we carry on here. But welcome to everybody that is already here to our Proven Ways to Increase PTO and PTA Participation webinar. This is our second live session in the series, so thank you everyone for joining. Jamie, did you join us for the first one as well? I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah, I saw Alina. Yeah.
Yeah. So that first webinar, that was all about teacher engagement. So if you do want the recording to that webinar, just write, let's see, webinar 1. We'll be very creative kicking us off here. Put webinar 1 right in the chat and we'll get you the recording for that too as well. For those who don't know, I'm Maggie. I'm the marketing director here at Get Moving Fundraising. We're a company built by and for parent group leaders, and we're all about making your fundraising events both profitable and fun, because that's very important as well. We do this through FundHub, which you're going to hear a little bit about today, but we also do it with our fundraising coaches, which Jamie, give it up, joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Maggie. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I can relate a lot to the people watching today. I've held various PTA positions over the past 8 years, so I totally get the volunteer struggle. The statistics on volunteer participation are a real eye-opener, which is why we wanted to host this webinar today. We know it's such a big issue for so many parent groups. And to put it simply, today's topic is about just getting people to show up. Right. I know one thing that doesn't work, because our PTA was guilty of it. We kept asking the same few parents, right? It was easy, you had their number, and you always saw them at school, plus they were reliable. But then by the end of the school year, they were burnt out, and it was almost impossible to get the new people to show up. So over the years, I've learned what does work, and today we're going to talk about those strategies to flip the script and build a community of participation at your school.
That's right. That's the goal. And I loved what you said, to just like put it simply, like, we just want to get people to show up. Like, if we're going to just pick one goal for volunteering, we just want people to show up. So we are going to talk a lot about that today. And we're going to not spend too much time on these statistics. I think if you're in this webinar, like, you know that this matters, like volunteering, it's like the backbone of the PTO or the PTA, right? Without our volunteers, like, our fun stuff does not happen. So I'm kind of curious, a lot of these statistics came actually from a survey that PTO Today did, which I think we're all familiar with. 84% of parent groups have 20 or fewer volunteers. I'm curious, for those watching, what's your kind of typical number that you see? It could even be a range at your school. Like, are you part of that 84%? Are you the lucky, what would it be, 16 that has even more than 20 volunteers? Maybe you should be doing this webinar if you are. But go ahead and put that in the chat just for your school. Like, what are your typical volunteer numbers look like as well? And then, like Jamie said, so we're going to talk a lot today about building basically a culture of engagement at your school. And a few of the things that we're going to talk about is, first off, just creating a layered team of volunteer roles. This offers just more variety for parents based on their level of availability. The second topic is one of my favorites, especially if you've heard me do any webinars. I love gamification. So we're going to talk about how to gamify the volunteer experience and do some fun volunteer rewards that parents actually want. And then we're going to talk about recruiting newbies, re-engaging your volunteers, super, super important. And then we're going to end off with some great tips on communication methods as well as meeting styles. This webinar is being recorded, so you will receive that recording tomorrow in your inbox. And we will do a Q&A at the end. So hold your questions till the end, and then we will do our best to get to them. Okay, fun little chart here, Jamie, which you will go over. But I think when we think about volunteers, we often default to like committee chairs, or just trying to like fill those empty spots on a sign-up sheet, right? Like, that's kind of ends up being sort of the game plan. But it can leave a lot of parents, I think, feeling sort of left out, especially, and this myself included, if they kind of can't take on a bigger role. And so creating a kind of layered volunteer team is really an important kind of smart idea. So Jamie, go ahead and kind of walk us through this structure here and break down what each of these levels includes.
Well, first off, even though it is a pyramid, it's not a hierarchy. Every level matters. Each role plays a key part in supporting your school. At the top, we have our leaders like PTO presidents, fundraising chairs, and other board roles. They'll plan events, manage the budget, work with admin, and allocate resources. A lot of times they're also filling the other roles without
Right.
even realizing it, right?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? That top little triangle is actually the entire pyramid.
But next we have our specialists. These are the parents with unique skills like graphic design, photography, baking, or tech know-how. They may step in for only one project, but their impact is huge. Our connectors are the networkers. They'll bring in the business sponsors, apply for grants, and secure in-kind donations, basically opening the doors in the community. Right. Then there's our event crew, the hands-on helpers, doing setup, check-ins, stations, cleanup. If you're a dad with a truck, you're probably right here.
Yeah, you're staying in event day crew if you're a dad with a truck, for sure.
It's also a great starting role for the new volunteers. And finally, the cheer squad, the parents participating at the fun runs, sharing posts online, and encouraging others to get involved. They help build one of the most powerful recruiting tools we have, FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. That's so right. When you break it down this way, you can see how every level plays a role in making our group stronger and how every parent can find a place to help.
That's right. So I really like this because it gives volunteers flexibility, I think, as well, which I know is really important to me too, to be able to, based on my availability as a volunteer, kind of move throughout this structure based on, you know, if it's a fall event, maybe I have more time than in the spring, vice versa. And also just the more variation we allow, I think the more doors we open for people to step in. And at the end of the day, like, let's say it all together, we just want to get people to show up. So the more doors we have for them to step through, the better our chances are that we might be able to get more than just those 3, you know, super dedicated parents to show up to volunteer for our events. All right, now let's talk about, I already said this is my favorite topic, so I'm going to kick us off here. Really fun ways to keep volunteers engaged, and that's through gamification. So gamifying something just means you're taking something that's already good, like volunteering, and you're making it super fun and kind of addictive. You're doing that through friendly competition and offering some perks that, like we said, like people actually want. So we're going to kind of talk about those now. Jamie, walk us through a few examples of how we can bring this to life in our schools.
Sure. The first idea I'd like to share is a level up system. Volunteers can earn points for things like hours worked, number of events they've helped at, or in-kind donations they brought in. As they rack up the points, they can unlock perks like VIP parking at school events, front row seats at the holiday concert, or even some free movie tickets. Yeah, these are all low cost or no cost incentives, but they feel special because they're tied to an experience parents care about. Another way to gamify volunteering is by making team competitions. First, you can create volunteer teams for the year. Then the teams can be organized by grade or schoolhouses or a mix of new and seasoned volunteers. As the teams earn points by volunteering together, this will also build community in your school. That's right. You can even host friendly team competitions like a kickball tournament, a trivia night, or even a chili cook-off. You track the wins for these competitions, and then at the end of the year, the leading volunteer team gets bragging rights and like a fun prize. So a night out at a local restaurant.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, those are all really fun ways for not just gamifying, but I think also like kind of building momentum throughout the school year, right? Like we talked about, it's not just trying to drive a bunch of volunteers at the beginning of the year, although we'll talk about that in a second. It's about maintaining that involvement all year long. That's why gamification, with this idea that you get something really cool at the end of the year if you participate throughout, is kind of the strategy behind it. And then there's some other ways here that I think are really fun. So badge collecting, I don't know if anyone watching does this at this school, but you basically, or at your school, but you basically have badges for specific achievements. So like social media star for the most event shares. You can have like sponsor champion if they have secured the most business sponsors. Event day hero if they have like been there from setup to tear down for like one of your bigger events. You can get super creative. You can make the badges digital. They could be printed. If you have something like a name tag that the parents keep all year long, it could be like stickers that they get to put on their name tag. And then, like Jamie said, at the end of the year, you have this big end of year raffle where each badge or sticker is an entry to win raffle. And then for actual event days, I really like this idea. It's event day prizes. So you give volunteers, let's say 2 raffle tickets for every hour they work your event, and then you pull a winner every hour during the event. So you are announcing winners throughout the day. You're keeping energy high. You're making sure people stay longer, which is great too, right? And it turns volunteering into something people actually want to stick around for, which again, that's like exactly what we want. All right, so a big part of gamifying volunteering, right? We're talking about like raffles and prizes, but they have to be things that are actually like desirable for parents, right? Like it can't just be any old freebie that's like not, they're not going to show up if they don't want to win the prize. So the trick is to think beyond generic giveaways and offer incentives that families truly value. And I think a big part of this is also like including the kids, right? Like the whole family. So Jamie has some ideas here: classroom prizes, tickets and coupons, family fun packs. Jamie, I'm curious, and also just everyone else, if you want to put in the chat, which one of these 3 do you think parents get like the most excited about from your experience?
Well, I think I'd have to say is the one right on top, right? Classroom prizes.
Class prizes.
They're always a big hit because they're fun and they're simple and they create a sense of teamwork. Parents know that by volunteering, they're helping their child's entire class earn something special. And it could be something like popsicles at recess, a popcorn and a movie party, or simply an outdoor picnic with their teacher. It's a win-win. The kids are thrilled and the parents feel proud to have helped make it happen. The next one is tickets and coupons. This is where you partner with a local business to get passes donated for things like water parks, amusement parks, bowling, or movies. This is a no-cost incentive for your group, but it's a real treat for families, and it also builds great relationships with those businesses. Then there's the family fun packs. These are fun, right? These are bundles of donated goodies, right? Think snacks paired with board games and craft kits. So the parents can take these home, enjoy them with their kids, and it's an easy way to turn volunteering into a shared memory. And it works really well for raffles and thank you gifts.
Right. So it could be for your raffle, or it could just be something like maybe you do kind of a smaller version of one of these, but it's for all of your volunteers. Like it could also just be thank you gifts. We did get a couple people piping up in the chat. So classroom prizes, we had someone agree with you on that. Pizza parties, dessert party, love that. I have a kindergartner and he would flip out if mom was able to get his class a dessert party for sure. All right, and let's go on to the next thing then, because we talked about really cool prizes and then that involves the family, but there's also perks, which I think is kind of like an untapped market almost for a lot of parent groups, that they kind of don't think about these things that they might be able to offer volunteers. And they, again, like Jamie was saying, they don't have to cost you a fortune, right? Like we shouldn't have to be putting a bunch of like our PTO, PTA money into things that are just trying to build the PTO or PTA, right? And so some of these things I really like because they make families feel like VIPs. Early entry is a great one. This is really perfect for events where getting in first is a big deal. So your Santa shop, your spring carnival, your book fair, volunteers and their families, I love that part, get to come in before the doors even open to everyone and kind of get first pick. Shorter lines, more relaxed experience, definitely that like VIP feel, right? And then the other one, very similar but a little different, is like exclusive access. So this could be front row seating for like a school performance. It could be a meet and greet with like a special guest. So Santa, you know, obviously goes hand in hand with the Santa shop. You have your school mascot even, or like a local sports team's a really cool one too. I've seen schools do. So the perks don't just feel special, they also give parents and their kids a shared moment experience that they're really not going to get any other way. We had some other ideas in here. I really like front row at graduation. That's a great
Yeah.
one. I'd volunteer for that for sure. I'm sure. So I never get to see people if I'm in the back row. Okay, really good comments from the chat too. Thank you for everyone's input. We are going to shift gears a little bit into now recruitment, right? This is a very timely conversation we're having here. I would say one of the biggest game changers for just growing your volunteer base, of course, is getting new people into it, but also doing that with personal outreach, which Jamie's going to talk about here. So Jamie, what are some kind of, you know, a couple of ways listed here that schools can start recruiting new members like right away?
Yeah, the first one is personal invites versus public pleas. Instead of sending out another "we need volunteers" email, ask your board members, your teachers, and your current volunteers to personally invite just one new parent, right? Keep it light and specific, like ask them to hand out bingo cards, maybe bring some snacks, or just clean up for an event they're already attending. It's a lot less intimidating than asking someone to lead a committee. And it's amazing how many more people will say yes when they're asked directly. The second one is using a buddy system. If you pair new volunteers with someone who's done it before, it'll help answer their questions. It'll make the experience more social and give them someone to lean on during their first event. You could even make a quick meet the team guide with like photos and blurbs so they know who they're working with.
Yeah, that helps a lot for the introverts, which I believe it or not, I actually am one if you put me in the group. But yeah, buddy system I would love too, because I'll talk about actually here in a second. I'm a new kindergarten mom, so it's my first time in the school system, period. And I would love to volunteer, but also like make a friend. So like I love the buddy system idea a lot. And speaking of which, you know, I kind of already said this, but right now this is super timely to be discussing this because the start of a new school year, excitement is high, families are still getting to know each other. So kind of the first strategy we're listing here is simply making the most of the back to school events that you're currently hosting. So meet the teacher night, if you do a kind of school-wide welcome back barbecue or something similar, this is a really great opportunity because you can show up in person and like Jamie said, be making those personal connections and invites. Another really smart thing to do is if you have a QR code, whether that's just for your general volunteer sign up or you do have something specific to an event like your fall fundraiser, having that with you when you're meeting people is a great like direct action step. All they have to do is bring out their phone, scan the QR code, and then right there you got to sign up, right? The second is welcoming new families. So I've already claimed this for myself as a new mom at the school. I did want to show, they had a kindergarten parent night last night at my 5-year-old school, and they gave out these super cute little, I don't know, gifties, little pouches. It said, "Welcome new kindergarten families. Summer's over and school is here. Some will cry and some will cheer." That's me. However you're feeling, please accept our best wishes along with some tissues and Hershey kisses. And then it has the tissue and a Hershey's kiss and an invite to the next PTO meeting. And the PTO president actually showed up and personally handed these out to everyone. And I thought that was great. And like, I'm actually going to go. Would I have gone if it was just a general email, Facebook post? Probably, like, I don't know, maybe not, right? So making that personal connection is really important. And I do want to highlight here, so the image you see here is actually one of our dynamic flyers that we have on FundHub. So I know I was mentioning the QR code. So this has a QR code so people could sign up directly like for your event on FundHub if you're hosting it with us. And it pulls all of your event details right into the flyer. So they save you like a crazy amount of time, but one of them is this QR code. And as you can see, we have it in English and Spanish as well. All right, so Jamie, we talked about recruiting newbies. let's switch it up and let's call them our over-seasoned supporters. These are our moms and dads, uncles and aunts, grandparents that they've been around the block a few times. They've shown up to a lot of events and they're feeling a little burnt out. And when that happens, I think we all know it's really easy for them to kind of quietly take a step back. And like all of a sudden you're like, hey, where's so-and-so who's always here? So Jamie, can you kind of walk us through some ways that can keep that connection going so these longtime supporters feel valued and want to keep coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest mistakes I see is PTAs putting all of their energy into recruiting volunteers without a plan to keep them engaged, right? Maintaining engagement is so important. You can do just little things like a personal thank you note, shout out on social media, or even a casual get together. This will help people feel connected and appreciated. Next is asking for input. People are far more likely to stay involved when they feel heard. If they didn't enjoy the role they had before, offer them something different. If their schedule has changed, let them know of another opportunity that might work better. Sometimes just showing that you're willing to adapt makes all the difference. And finally, having a membership chair dedicated to volunteer engagement can be a game changer. This person focuses not only on signups, but also on keeping those relationships strong all year long. If you are a PTA, I highly recommend the Membership Mania program that's offered from National PTA. It's a free resource with loads of tools, ideas, fun challenges, and they even have Zoom meetups that will keep your membership chair engaged and on track.
That's good. That's a cool resource. All right. Well, we talked about a lot of the fun stuff. We talked about gamification. We talked about recruiting newbies, getting our overseasoned supporters back in the loop. But I want to make sure we take a little time to talk about some stuff that might seem small or easy to overlook, but actually makes a huge difference. And these are the ways we communicate, how we run meetings. Jamie, can you kind of walk us through, especially from your experience, some of the simple changes that maybe you've done in your own PTA that have helped keep volunteers in the loop and coming back?
Yeah, this is the stuff that seems small, but can make people feel like they're part of the team, right? First thing I like is to check in regularly. After a big event or a busy week, just send a quick thank you, right? It could be a simple text, short email with the photo from the event, or even a shout out on your private Facebook group. Then ask for feedback. People stick around when they feel heard. That could be a short survey, a quick poll in your group chat, or just starting the next meeting with what worked and what should be changed. Yeah. Next is target your communication. No one loves getting 15 emails about things that don't apply to them, right? So use segmented email lists or text groups so that your fun run team and your carnival crew only get the information they need. As for meetings, see if you can make them more flexible. Offer both in-person and virtual options together. Maybe consider switching up the meeting times. Have an early afternoon one month, and then the next month have it in the evening. This gives people more opportunities to attend. And lastly, make sure to send out those meeting minutes so everyone will stay in the loop.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something that from what I'm learning from the school that I'll be volunteering at as well for my son, I think they have like a morning one and then they'll follow it up like the next week with like an evening, even if it's covering kind of the same topics. That way, right, like that flexibility you're talking about. But then of course, like sending out those meeting minutes for the parents that want to stay in the loop, right, but they can't like physically or even virtually, maybe attend. I think that those are great. Okay, well, before we wrap, and we are getting to time here, I do want to point out, we've talked about FundHub a little bit. I just want to point out a couple more tools that really make it easy to get parents involved and really keep everything nice and organized for you as the parent group leader. Dynamic flyers, we already showed an example of earlier, but there's also our email builder. So the email builder within FundHub, it lets you send targeted messages to your team or to your volunteers right from FundHub. So you don't have to export lists, you don't have to copy and paste, email addresses. Plus you won't get spammed, which is definitely an issue if you're trying to send like huge batch emails out from like a personal email address, right? And so it saves a lot of time and a lot of hassle for you as you're kind of managing your event. And then the third tool I'll let Jamie talk about, that's our volunteer organizer.
Yes, I love this tool because it makes the whole process of organizing and communicating with our volunteers so much easier. Since it's on the same platform as all the other fundraising information, there's no need to log on or set up anything separate just to check on your event or see if something's covered or send out that email. Plus, the link for the volunteers to sign up is right on the parent's dashboard. So essentially, every parent registered for the fundraiser gets an invitation to volunteer without you even having to ask.
Yeah, saves a lot of time. It really
Yeah.
is great. And if you're interested in this, you want to kind of see how it works in action instead of just hearing us, talk about it, rave about it. The flyers, email builder, volunteer organizer, those are just a few of the very many tools that you get with FundHub. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and just type demo in the chat, and we'll be happy to follow up with you personally, get you connected with your coach, and get you signed up for a walkthrough, because we'd love to show you, those features in action for your event. All right, well, let's go ahead and see. So now's a great time if you do have any questions about anything that we touched on today, or even just about, volunteers in general, event-based fundraising, even though that's not technically what we're talking about, but we do know a lot about it. If you have any of those questions, go ahead and put them in the chat right now. But while I kind of wait to see and while we're all thinking, I do want to say just a big thank you to Miss Jamie for joining us today, sharing your wisdom, your experience with us. Like I've said a few times, I'm certainly a newbie. I've been with Get Moving for a very long time, but I'm a newbie in terms of being a volunteer. So really, really valuable to hear from you. And kind of any final thoughts, Jamie, before we wrap for the day?
In my experience, if you could just shift your mindset from obligation to connection, it'll make a huge difference, right? When we stop approaching our volunteers as people we're just trying to get help from, and instead we see them as part of the community we're building, everything just changes. When people feel personally connected to the mission, they don't just show up, they stick around, they'll bring a friend, and they'll take on bigger roles.
Exactly right. All right, looks like, okay, a lot of demo requests. Awesome. We will follow up with you guys personally. Yvonne had a good question that I'll just say for the group as well. Again, this is absolutely being recorded. So you will receive this recording, which will have visuals as well. So you'll be able to see all the slides and everything. We'll send that recording latest tomorrow morning. You might even get it today. But we have the email ready to go so that you can rewatch this, share it with your team. And that's for everybody who registered. We know that sometimes, middle of the day on a Wednesday isn't doable to actually show up live for the webinar. So anybody who registered will be getting that recording as well. And then another reminder, if you did want the recording from the first webinar, which is all about engaging your teachers, your admin, your staff in your event fundraisers, just type webinar 1 in the chat and we'll definitely get that recording to you as well. All right, well, we are at the end here. Before we do officially end the event, I do want to do a quick reminder. Our next webinar will be on September 24th. That's going to be all about building a social media plan that works, even for busy parent group leaders. So that, yeah, I think that's going to be a good one, Jamie, I agree. And then we are also doing a special Facebook Live with PTO today on September 17th, so actually the week prior. And that's going to be focused on getting school grants and business sponsors. So just make sure you're following us on social media. That's where you're going to be able to know about any webinars we're doing, any giveaways, any cool offers. We're at Get Moving Fundraising on all of the fun platforms, all of the places. And until next time, thank you so much again to Jamie for joining us. Thank you for everyone who attended today. We really value your time and input on a topic that I think we can all agree is super important. We hope to see you all again for the next webinar and wish you all the best for this back to school season. And thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.